You're an absolute bot of box fighting, and I'm going to prove it to you. In the past week, I've won over 500 rounds of 1v1 box fights, won 92.86% of the 1v1s I played, and haven't been beaten in 44 1v1s. Not only am I going to leak absolutely everything that allowed me to go 44 box fights unbeaten, but also show my box fighting skills in the latest solo tournament where I placed 257th in my first Fortnite tournament in over a year. I'm going to showcase all that in this 5-step box fighting formula. First formula is what I learned playing the box fights. Now, my first 0 to 100 box fight, I was learning the movements and what to do in each scenario. As something I learned here was that box fights is actually just made up of a build-up of scenarios. Even in game, these same scenarios apply, and you'll find yourself in the same scenario every single time. And once you learn how to play every scenario you're in, you'll be able to win every single box fight, no matter where you are on the map or what loot you've got, which is why after 100 rounds of box fights, I did not lose a single fight and went on to win 440 rounds of box fights, equaling 44 wins without losing a single game. And what are the main scenarios you'll find yourself in, you ask? Well, there are actually 3 main ones you'll find yourself in: attacking someone else's wall, defending your wall, and being on a different health to your opponent. I'm going to show you examples of each one. Let's start off with attacking someone's wall. When you do this, it usually means you have the advantage in a fight, so it's important for you not to lose this. And there's only one way to take a wall to maximize your chances of winning the fight, as well as minimizing the chances of dying. Make sure you're always approaching the wall to the left, not on a ramp, not on a cone, to the left side of the wall. No matter whether the opponent is on 2 HP, 100, whatever it is, no matter the scenario, we always need to make sure we're on the left, giving us a right hand peek. The most common mistake I found, especially when I went into ranked, which I'll expand a bit more on when we get there, is that so many players just throw out this one main thing based on a scenario. No matter the scenario, you should always be making sure you're taking safe peek. There is one principle that you must always follow in box fights, and that is stand to left. This is because your Fortnite character, if you actually notice, is slightly on the left of our screen with our crosshair slightly on the right. This is the secret to peeking. Whenever you peek, when you're on the left side of the screen, the tighter you are to the actual angle where they're coming from, the less of your body they will see. Also, if they ever take the wall, no matter what edit they make, it will always be a 50-50 when you're holding a tight angle on the left. Then you want to make sure you're never double swinging. This is my next tip. Always swing once and pull your shotgun out. This sounds really simple enough to do, but it puts someone under so much pressure. And 90% of the time, when you just hit someone's wall with pickaxe, most players, especially when they're on low HP, will just edit out and look to run at you, or make some sort of mistake and fumble under the pressure. So make sure you're always on the left side and hold that shotgun out ready for them, as this will put you in the best position for it. The next fundamental is defending your wall. This is usually when you're on the defensive or on even ground, and your goal here should be to flip the scenario round. In every single box fight, you always want to try and be the aggressor. When you are being defensive in a box fighting situation, you're putting yourself in a bad scenario, which is why we want to be the person aggressing and forcing our opponents into a bad scenario. And we do this by always leaving their wall one tap. If we find ourselves on the even ground where we're both on a similar health, make sure their wall is always one tap away from being broken. This puts pressure onto them to make a move and pretty much puts a stop to them doing any sort of plays on you. Now, I want you to watch this clip. As you can see, we're even here. No one really has the advantage. We're on the same health, and this player looks to aggress my wall. I replace that and instantly bump the pressure on him. I then win this wall and we do trade some damage. And rather than taking my med straight away, I instantly remember, hit this wall once. And at this point, it means if he loses focus of that wall at any point or goes for any plays, I can simply replace it, giving me a nice right hand peek. This player knows he's in a horrible spot at this point, and he makes the mistake of just running at me. And here, I stayed to the left and I managed to pick up the kill. Now, the other scenario you find yourself in here is when you're on the defensive, which is why we always make 2 boxes. This means when players look to get aggressive or get in your face, make lots of room with boxes. This is going to allow you to potentially look to make an edit play out of one of them the second they lose track of you, allowing you to get some damage on them and potentially flipping the fight round, or allowing you to call a bit of a truce to get your meds off. And the final movement you'll see is being on different health. Now, I did touch on it just then by saying you should be in a double box, but when you're on low HP in a box fight scenario, your enemy will always make a mistake. 99% of players, even the majority, are really good top W keyers. I see pro players make mistakes on this situation. Everyone in the world struggles to attack in box fighting scenarios. This is because when you get someone low, your number one goal is to finish the fight. Finish the fight quickly. Every single pro player you'll see, 99% of them will just look to jump in your box as soon as they get you low. And because there's so many players which are so bad at box fighting, which when I analyse the clips later, you'll see how bad some of these players are in ranked and tournaments, it's near enough impossible for people to make mistakes that don't play a ton of box fights. And don't get me wrong, it is not easy when someone's making lots of space to attack a wall, which is why whenever you're low on HP, your first thought is he's going to make a mistake. Don't think a single player has not made a mistake against myself when in a box fight scenario. And I'm able to win fight after fight. In fact, I think I win more fights being on low HP than I do actually having the health advantage, because I learned how to master how to counter these mistakes. Around the 300 box fight mark though, I was just absolutely unplayable. I literally loaded into about 10 box fights in a row at one point, and the players just left and left and left. And put this into consideration, how much better I am than these players. The majority of players around this point have won maybe 20 to 60% of their box fights. I've got over a 90% win rate and have won the past 20 or so box fights in a row and near enough mastered every scenario. Then from there, I just eased for the rest of the box fight. But now we know about the 3 main movements and how the box fights went, let's talk about our formula number 2, and that is rank. What did I learn from rank? First of all, did my rank improve? Did my kills go up? And did I actually win more games in rank? In regards to winning more games, I'd actually probably say no. My rank has definitely improved as a result of it, but not like a gradual massive improvement in my rank. It's just like a bit of an increase. I did see myself though winning a lot more fights, especially from losing situations. I didn't actually see myself winning any more games than normal, but I actually do think the main part of that really was down to the fact that other areas of my game, like my shotgun aim and stuff, needed to be worked on at the same time to see the maximum amount of improvement. So yes, while I was doing this challenge, because I was playing so many box fights, I really didn't have the time to practice other different things like 1v1 build fights and all that stuff, which if I did it at the same time or just played a few less box fights and played more build fights and more aim trainers and stuff, then I would definitely see a much bigger improvement in regards to my rank. And while box fights is a very important part of the game, again, it is such a small part of this massive game. So yes, I did see a slight improvement in my rank. My kills went up, definitely not so much for the wins. But in regards to them box fighting scenarios you get into in ranked, you don't tend to get as many of them in ranked as you do in tournaments, and also they're actually very similar to what you actually experience in creative, but they are just slightly different. Obviously, you're going to have a lot more room in game compared to creative, which means players tend to expend out a bit more, but those main skills you learn in creative all come over and tie in game. But it's not just my box fighting skills that actually improved from playing so many games. I saw my edits improve, my building, my overall piece control peaks, and these are all really important parts of the game which is so hard to learn. So that's why learning box fights is so important. But I think the biggest one of all really, which is probably the biggest part of Fortnite in general, is just my confidence. Off spawn, mid game or end game, whenever it was, if I was on low HP, I had belief in every fight that I had the skills to win the fight. Because I've won so many from these losing situations in creative, I had that ability to turn it round at any point. But I can't say the same in regards to improvement when we get into formula number 3, tournaments. The other day, after playing all the box fight games, I played my first tournament in over a year, and I placed 257th in the Elite Plus Cup, which is elite to unreal rank players. And I saw something crazy in tournaments, which was my ability to essentially destroy anyone with my peaks and my box fighting skill. Now, tournaments, even though they're meant to be similar to ranked, they are actually very different. They're high pressure situations. A lot of the scenarios you're in, they play out very different to your average ranked game. Players get nervous. They tend to build fight a little bit less and drag out fights more. They try a little bit harder, meaning just these box fight scenarios in general are just a lot more common and mistakes are more likely to be made. And the number one thing box fighting improves is that ability to counter players, which is why not only did I see myself getting a lot more kills in this tournament, but I saw myself killing players that were potentially 5-6 times better than me with much better loot, mythic shotguns, mythic SMGs, when I've just got basic like grey and green loot based off this alone. And the last time I placed that high in a solo cup was actually a late game cup where I placed 296. So mastering this one skill alone allowed me to get my best solo placement since October of 2022. Now imagine I mix that up with working on my build fights as well as my aim and some other different areas that need improvement. I would have seen a much better placement than this, and I would probably expect to see myself in the top 50 of this tournament. That's how important box fights are. If you play tournaments, keep in mind that every end game you get into is also just one big box fight. Now moving on to formula number 4, breaking down box fighting scenarios in game. Now I have already broken down some of the clips just with text on screen on different mistakes and things, but there's certain clips I want to go a little bit deeper into and show you a bit more. And one of them is this clip actually in a duo tournament. As you can see, this player, we are chasing him down. We're trying to finish this guy off. He's already somewhat low on health, and you can see all these boxes. This is why tournaments are just so much different to your normal rank game. But you're going to see me do one thing in this clip. First of all, I go to left side like I've taught you, but you're going to see me double swing on this wall and then hit a nasty 139 damage shot on him. Now, most of you might be thinking, but how do you know when you should or shouldn't double swing? The whole time I was fighting this guy, I was keeping track of what he was doing. If I heard him pull out a shotgun at any point, I would have pulled out my shotgun and I would have waited for an edit. You can see he's trying to pop his shield fish, and after getting his shield fish off, he doesn't pull out his shotgun. He has no intention here to try and get a shot on me. He's going to try and hold this wall. You can see him with his maps in his hand, and you can also see the little med button on the visual sound effects as well. So at this point, I decided to double swing, get the wall, and a little headshot, and we did kill his teammate as well, but it didn't clip that. I do die in this clip, but I just want to show you how to properly use the double box. Once you're in the double box, your goal is to create space between you and your opponent. Here, I'm really low on health, so my opponent is looking to do anything he can to just get a 50-50 with me, which is obviously a massive mistake from himself. I create space by going into the other box. I then make an edit and swing with a nice right hand peek, get a big damage shot on him, and then I full piece him up. It was quite unfortunate here because I do go for the wall on the left and then I do reset, and he just manages to get his shot off in time. I know a lot of you struggle when you're on low HP to win fights, so in this clip here, first off, I start off by being griefed by the tray, and this puts me all the way down to 1 HP. I instantly look to make space by putting myself in a double box at all times, and my opponent knows I am literally 1 tap away from dying, so I know there is no way he's going to allow me to get my meds off. What I do know is he's going to make some sort of mistake. I see him drop down and start double swinging on my wall. So the second he goes to swing the other wall on the left, I go to take a big 50-50 with this guy. This is because I need to get a big shot off to hit him for him to back off so I can get my meds off. Otherwise, I'll just die as soon as he gets in my face. And then I get griefed a little bit by my scroll wheel trying to reset the floor above him for some reason. But watch how that 1 damage shot allowed me to get my meds off. I did actually end up killing that player in the end as well, and it's all because I knew there's no way I was going to get my meds off, and I just have to be aggressive. Sometimes when you're on the defensive, the best thing you can do when trying to defend is being on the offense. So just keep in mind, whenever you're on 1 HP, if a player is just absolutely throwing everything they can to try and kill you, the best thing you can do is just aggress them back. Get that big damage tag off them, you could potentially get your meds off and then win the fight like I did later on. And finally, formula number 5 is the big question of, is it worth it and should you do it? In conclusion, I do not regret playing the box fights at all. One, they improved a massive part of my game, especially some of the hardest parts of your game, like your peaks and stuff, and it just gets that muscle memory binded in your mind of what to do in these box fight scenarios. So no, I do not regret playing it at all, and I would absolutely recommend it to all of you. Everyone that watches this, go and play some box fights. If you want to actually improve as a player, but also get better tournament placements, go and play box fights. Now, I played an excessive amount of box fights. I've played over 500 in total, and it took me literally, I think, just under a week in total straight of just playing it to complete this full number. So I know it is an excessive amount I played, and you definitely don't need to play that many. I mean, you could essentially learn all that I learned in around 200 to 300 box fights. I mean, after 100 rounds, I pretty much nailed down each scenario. Then extra 100 to 200 more just really tips you over and just allows you to master them box fighting scenarios and properly improve your game. So I definitely will keep playing box fights, but to improve my tournament placement, I'm going to be focusing more now around playing 200 to 300 build fights next, as well as improving my aim. Anyways, that's the end of this video. If you did find it helpful or enjoyed this video, these take me so long to create. I don't think you understand the amount of time I put into this, from playing to testing and just getting all this information for you. So please support me as a small creator and like this video, as well as subscribing to the channel. It's completely free for you, and as a thank you in return, I'm going to respond to every single one of your guys' comments. And if you like this video and want to support me further, go and check out this video on screen now.